The spray hit him before a word was spoken. 1 second he was standing there, sketch pad tucked under his arm, earbuds in through, no music played, phone open with a translation app glowing white. The next second his eyes burned, his chest collapsed, his legs folded. A 12-year-old boy, silent by birth but never by choice, taken down in broad daylight for moving his hands. That boy was named Isaiah Carter, and that day his life and his mother's changed forever. It happened on the corner of Maple and Ridge, outside a rundown grocery store with flickering neon lights. Isaiah had been asking for directions, signing carefully, his movements deliberate like always. He'd been working on a drawing of a superhero with a hearing aid and a glowing red fist. That sketch fell onto the sidewalk when Officer Ray Donovan decided his language looked like a threat. The hiss of pepper spray cut the air sharper than any warning. "Stop resisting," Donovan yelled, though there was no resistance. Isaiah couldn't even see his hearing aids skittering across the pavement. One of them cracked open in the gutter. People on the street froze. Some ducked, some stared, and one woman, a neighbor who had seen too much, already raised her phone and started recording. Her voice shook as she shouted, "He's deaf, damn it! He's a kid! What's wrong with you?" But Donovan didn't stop. He knelt on Isaiah's chest, zip ties ready, repeating the same script: non-compliant, possible erratic behavior, like those words could wash away the truth happening in plain sight. Miles away in the back seat of a black SUV, Attorney General Camille Carter was preparing for a civil rights case. She hadn't looked at her phone in half an hour. Then her driver cleared his throat, handed her a tablet, and said softly, "Ma'am, you need to see this." On that screen, she watched her only child crumple beneath a man with a badge. She didn't scream. She didn't even blink. She closed the tablet, pinned a silver scale-shaped badge to her lapel, and said one sentence: "Turn this car around." Camille wasn't always Attorney General. She had grown up in a one-bedroom apartment on Savannah's east side, raised by a mother who read eviction notices like they were love letters from a system that never cared. She remembered being asked if she felt safe around her own father simply because he wore boots and braids. She remembered her uncle locked up without a lawyer. She taught herself the law because no one else would defend her family. By 17, she was correcting judges in debate tournaments. By 23, she was the top graduate at Yale Law. By 31, she sat on the federal bench, nicknamed the Hammer and Heels. But none of that mattered the night her son spiked a fever and the ER staff made him wait 27 minutes because a black child didn't look like a priority. By the time he was treated, meningitis had stolen his hearing forever. Camille resigned the very next day. Her son needed her more than the system did. That's why, standing in a hospital hallway years later, she didn't walk in as an official, she walked in as a mother. Isaiah lay still, his face red and swollen from pepper spray. His fingers twitched, searching for a sketch pad. When a nurse handed it over, he scrawled one shaky word: "Why?" Camille held his hand and signed back. "Mom is here." She didn't cry, not yet. The fire building inside her wasn't tears, it was strategy. Outside, protests grew overnight. Signs read, "Hands are not weapons." Others said, "Our language is not a crime." Hashtags spread like wildfire. The police chief promised transparency, but Camille knew that word usually meant silence. She began digging. The report claimed Isaiah had been flagged by a predictive policing system, some shiny new tech sold by a private company called Guardian Analytics. The software scanned movements and claimed to spot threat cues. In reality, it was a machine trained to fear kids who didn't fit the mold. ASL was logged as erratic behavior. Isaiah had been caught by an algorithm before an officer ever looked him in the eye. But here's the catch: those alerts weren't automatic. They had to be approved by a human. Camille found the log. The name attached to the decision glared back at her: Lieutenant Mark Slater, head of the precinct's tech division. She confronted him directly. He smirked when she entered his office. "Attorney General Carter, what a surprise." She didn't sit down. "You flagged my son," she said flatly. His smile tightened. "Protocol." "No," she cut him off. "A computer suggested. You approved. My son was asking for a bus stop. You saw a hoodie and moving hands and called it danger." Slater leaned back, arms crossed. "With respect, your boy looks suspicious. High-risk zone. Fast gestures. It's about officer safety." Camille stepped closer, her voice cold as steel. "No, Lieutenant. It's about your bias wearing a badge." That would have been enough for most people, but not for her. Witnesses came forward quietly. A man in a delivery uniform whispered that officers had warned him not to testify. A teenage boy admitted he had filmed the whole scene but was too scared to share it. A rookie cop confessed the department was circling wagons preparing to rewrite the story. And then a veteran officer slid a thumb drive across the table during a late-night meeting. On it, Slater's voice boomed, "Pepper before pistol. If it can't follow commands, it's a threat. Doesn't matter if it's deaf or dramatic." Camille listened once, then twice. Then she tucked the drive away like a blade. "Thank you," she told the officer. "The world will hear this." By morning it leaked, not by her but by someone inside who'd had enough. Protesters carried banners quoting his words, "Pepper before pistol." Deaf kids stood shoulder to shoulder, signing silently in unison. "My hands are how I speak." The chant outside City Hall grew louder every hour. "We speak with our hands. We speak with our hands." The mayor tried to save face, claiming ignorance, calling the leak misleading. Slater blamed the software, said context was missing. But the public had already decided. This wasn't about one bad officer. It was about a system that would rather gas a child than learn his language. Through it all, Isaiah fought to recover. Days passed. His eyes stayed closed, his breathing steady but fragile. Then one evening, his fingers lifted. At first, Camille thought it was a dream twitch. But no, he was signing one word, Mom. She grabbed his hand, tears finally spilling. He signed again, slower this time. "Did they see?" Camille squeezed his hand. "Yes, baby. They saw everything." When he regained enough strength, Isaiah asked for his notebook. On the first page, he wrote a title, "Silence is not a threat." That night, from his hospital bed, he and his mother recorded a video. No lights, no makeup, no speeches. Just a boy signing, his mother interpreting. "My name is Isaiah Carter," he began. "I'm deaf. I'm black. I am not broken." His hands moved steady, deliberate, each word heavier than bullets. "They said I was dangerous because, I couldn't hear them. Because I used my hands. But silence isn't danger. Silence is just silence." That video spread faster than anything Camille had ever argued in court. Teachers played it in classrooms. Parents taught their kids to sign in solidarity. Lawmakers tweeted hashtags. Within 24 hours, over 1 million people had signed petitions to abolish predictive policing tech. The case grew beyond Rose Hill. Slater was indicted on civil rights charges. The mayor's financial ties to Guardian Analytics surfaced. He'd been profiting from contracts that turned disabled kids into suspects. Congress held hearings, and soon a new bill was introduced, the Isaiah Act, banning law enforcement from using AI systems that flagged disabilities as threats, mandating deaf awareness training for officers nationwide. But Camille didn't stop at politics. She took settlement money and donations pouring in and built something permanent. Silent Justice, a center for kids like Isaiah, a place where Black and brown children with disabilities could learn to sign proudly, get legal support, and see murals on the walls declaring, "Justice speaks every language." Isaiah himself painted the first mural, a boy mid-sign, eyes locked on the world. Underneath, in bold letters, "Not if we keep watching." And that's the thing, this story isn't just about pain. It's about what happens when silence refuses to stay quiet. It's about a boy who never raised his voice yet made an entire country listen. It's about a mother who turned grief into fire and taught the system that some kids can't be ignored, not anymore. So now I want to ask you, what do you think? Should technology decide who looks like a threat? Should silence ever be treated like defiance? Have you ever seen someone misjudged just for being different? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this story, and let the world know. Because justice doesn't whisper, it speaks in every language, if only we're willing to listen.